Cognitive clarity emerges from the mind's automatic self-regulation. Most attempts to achieve mental stillness through active control produce the opposite effect. We must distinguish between the mechanical act of forcing a temporary mental state and the effortless baseline of a mind left to its own devices. This is Paramahansa Yogananda, author of Autobiography of a Yogi. For investigator Sri Bhagavat, this text was the catalyst for a forensic study of consciousness. He observed that the traditional yogi path relies on a framework of continuous, high-intensity effort. This loop defines the struggle of effort-based practice. A practitioner applies intense force to push the mind into a state of calm. Because this artificial state decays the moment effort stops, the mind regresses to its baseline. The Gnani framework breaks this cycle entirely. It is a binary shift where all effort drops away. There are no maintenance routines because the baseline has become stable and quiet. Mindfulness contains a built-in mechanical failure. The more energy you spend suppressing a thought, the more you reinforce the neural pathway associated with it. Bhagavath's early life was a sequence of high-stress failures. He struggled through school, saw his peanut candy manufacturing business collapse into debt, and eventually found himself trapped in a legal career that offered no psychological rest. He initially looked for a solution through external systems of redemption, studying historical figures who tried to resolve their internal conflicts through intense service and moral action. He spent years analyzing the accounts of World War II bomber crews to map the psychological limits of men operating under extreme, crushing burdens. He focused specifically on the aftermath of the atomic bombings, attempting to determine how the human mind carries the weight of total destruction. Leonard Cheshire, observer of the Nagasaki blast, dedicated his post-war life to establishing global humanitarian homes. Yet, Bhagavat noted that despite this massive penance, Cheshire remained psychologically apart, unable to fully reintegrate into his pre-war baseline or join society. This observation established a hard truth. External penance may assist the world, but it cannot resolve the underlying friction of the mind. Service provides an occupation, but it does not fix a fractured internal state. Most practitioners fall into a mechanical trap by assuming the mind is a chaotic entity that requires an external force to calm it. Bhagavat identified this as mano-layam, an artificial equilibrium created by wrestling thoughts into stillness. Trying to smooth out a thought is like trying to flatten sand with your fingers. The very act of pressing creates new ridges. You are reinforcing the ego that is attempting to do the erasing. The alternative is mano-laya nasam, natural equilibrium. This occurs when you realize the mind possesses an inherent biological capacity to heal itself when left entirely alone. If thoughts are ripples in water, the moment you stop dragging your finger across the surface, the water returns to stillness. The ripples dissipate effortlessly because you have stopped sustaining them through resistance. Your mind requires no assistance to regulate itself. Your attempts to fix the mind are the primary cause of its imbalance. Jiddu Krishnamurti provided the psychological framework for this observation through a concept he called choiceless awareness. Choiceless awareness is the observation of a sensation or emotion without any cognitive bias. You don't label the state as a problem, and you don't require it to stop. Bhagavath tested this by standing in a flooded, freezing paddy field in the middle of winter. He chose to observe the extreme sensation of the cold without mentally resisting the experience. Fighting a sensation engages the amygdala. This creates a stressful habit loop where the brain interprets your own mental resistance as an external threat, keeping the nervous system in a state of hyperreactivity. By applying choiceless awareness in the freezing water, Bhagavath ended his internal resistance. His physical shivering stopped because his nervous system was finally allowed to naturally downregulate. Choiceless awareness describes the biological result of ending interference with your own neurology. Bhagavath applied these mechanics during weekly debates at the Tiruchendur Murugan temple complex, challenging traditional seekers to examine the logic of their search. He was met with constant demands for mantras, systems, and step-by-step rituals. These seekers wanted a method to follow in order to reach a goal. Bhagavath countered that the pursuit of a system is simply the ego's way of maintaining control.
Searching for a way to quiet the mind is the specific action keeping it loud. The pursuit of enlightenment often functions as a recursive psychological trap, where the effort of the search creates the very friction the seeker is trying to escape. If we abandon internal control, it seems we'd lose all discipline and act with total chaos. Mahatma Gandhi provides the counterexample. He maintained extreme levels of physical and social discipline without relying on the violent suppression of his internal state. True discipline involves aligning your physical actions with your values, regardless of how you feel inside. It does not require you to fix your internal weather. We must take full responsibility for our external actions, while granting total autonomy to our internal emotional reactions. Feelings are biological events that follow their own natural laws. When you stop spending energy fighting your internal state, your external actions become sharper, more efficient, and far more disciplined. A 90-day protocol bridges this theory and daily life. It requires strict separation between internal observation and external tasks. On day 1, focus solely on external tasks. In the evening, observe internal reactions without judgment, crossing out the need to control how you feel. When frustration or anxiety arises today, do not attempt to fix it.
Just watch it as you would a ripple in water, and allow it to completely dissolve on its own. Bhagavath's final directive at the end of his life was to legally forbid his heirs from owning his teachings or controlling his mission. This legal maneuver serves as the final proof of his thesis. He ensured his work could not be institutionalized, because truth is not something that can be owned or maintained through effort. Cognitive liberation is the moment you drop your hands, step back, and refuse to write on the sand ever again.